Today should be a fun day. I can't wait to see if everyone will enjoy this new series as it continues to flourish and come out. Got a couple followers from me coaching another person earlier yesterday, but we should overall have a good fun time. So we're going to start out. What I thought would be fun is we would do a initial predictions on how we think the teams will go with just with our background information that we have now, just with our own analysis, just from watching games throughout the winter split. So that's what we'll start off with, and then we'll just go through this very quickly, and then afterwards we will get into looking at Team Liquid. So I did post on Twitter. Earlier this week, asking what teams people wanted to go over, and we're going to be going over Team Liquid at the request of most people. And then tomorrow we'll go over G2 esports, and then we'll kind of just switch regions every single day leading up to the major. And by request, we'll also be doing some sub-Saharan Africa teams after we're done with the main 16 major teams. So that should also be a fun set of streams after all these teams have been analyzed. But without further ado, let's get into our initial predictions. FaZe and G1. FaZe have been looking really good. G1 have been looking solid. I do believe in G1 more than some teams, but at the same time, FaZe have been looking like one of the better teams in the world right now. And on LAN, they normally do better against EU teams. So I can see this definitely being a 3-1 for FaZe. Then for G2 versus Crew, I think this could be a close series, but we're in North American soil, so I think Crew should end up getting the dub here. Then FaZe versus Crew, I think Crew would be able to put up a good fight again, but I think FaZe will be warmed up at this point. It should be a 3-0. And then G2 versus G1, I think a lot of people are thinking this will be closer than it will be. But I think just because it's a North American LAN, G2 should probably win this pretty easily. We'll still give G1 a game here. And then FaZe versus G2, I think online it's shown which team is definitely better at the moment. But G2 are also looking fairly solid. And the last few times at LAN, FaZe have ended up losing to G2. And it's definitely an interesting question on who would win this. I think G2 are definitely warming up, whereas I think most people would see G1 as a really good warm-up, and then maybe going into Crew, FaZe would have an easier time against them. So I think G2 might actually win this in a Game 5, just because it's on LAN. G2 haven't lost on LAN to them. And then Crew versus G1. So I'm a South American coach. I'm a South American RLCS coach. I definitely I get to see these players play a lot. And I actually think Crew will come up with the upset here, 3-2. Maybe at the end of our deep dive analysis throughout the next 16 days, it might change. But for right now, I got Crew making it out of groups, G1 going out 0-3. Then here we go, Carmine Core Falcons. I think this will be pretty easy. Falcons should take a game, but that's it. And I'm actually going to come back to Vitality versus Dignitas. I think Carmine Core should sweep Dig. And then this is an interesting one. I think Falcons will actually come out 3-2 here. I think Falcons will have warmed up from the Carmine Core match. And then Vitality's actually won a couple of times, or I believe at minimum one time. But I think Carmine Core, it's on LAN. They should win this here. And then Falcons, I believe they should win this 3-1 as well. And for this one, it's an interesting dynamic. But I mean, Alpha 54, last time he was on LAN, got perfect swept by NRG. Of course, that was a long time ago. But Drees has shown up on LAN, so I think I'm going to give them the slight edge, and it's a round 1 matchup. So I'm actually having Dignitas making it out of groups. And then we can pretty much... I actually think Gladiators will take one game off Secret. I think Gladiators have been looking alright, and it is the first series. And then... Liquid, they've impressed me, but they haven't impressed me as much as Ground Zero. So this might very well change today, but I think I'm going to have Ground Zero winning in Game 5 in Round 1. And then we got Secret versus Ground Zero after this. Ground Zero defensively are probably one of the best OCE teams we've seen. So, you know what? I'm predicting... well, we can, of course, put Liquid 3-0ing this. We can put Secret 3... And we can put... Excuse me. We can put Ground Zero 3-0ing this. And I do have Liquid beating Secret in probably a Game 5. So, the question is, does Secret beat Ground Zero? Do we get a 3-way tie type thing? Yeah, you know what? I think I'll go with it. I think I'll go with the Secret 3-way tie. And Ground Zero will edge out in first. I think this is a good way to predict Group C. These three teams all beating each other. And this is the interesting one. I think Genji Pioneers. I think Pioneers will take a game. Yo, it's been a while. Yeah, Spot. How you doing, bro? Welcome to the stream. We'll be looking at Team Liquid here in a second, but since this is our first... So I'll be streaming the next 16 days. So I'll be streaming 1733. Nice, nice. But yeah, I'll be streaming for the next 16, 17 days in a row, every day at around this time. And the first team we're going to be going over is... We're going over Team Liquid today in a deep dive analysis. But before we get there, we're doing initial predictions for all these streams. So we're doing predictions for right now, and then at the end of all these streams, we'll do another set of predictions, see how they change. Here you go. I do believe Complexity should win this. It'll be a Game 5. I think Gen G will have learned from their group stage at the last major. I think Gen G should win this one. And then I also think that Oxygen should also win this one, but Pioneers will put up a good fight. I do believe in Hunter. Hunter, Banana Head, and Scrub, they've been looking more confident. The last land, they haven't looked confident. And then Gen G versus Oxygen. I think Gen G will edge this out in a Game 5. I think they will. And Complexity versus Pioneers. This is an interesting one. Because what happens if I have Pioneers win and say a Game 5? Alright, so there we go. I'm actually fine with this. So, here we go. So, Pioneers, I think, in this setting, I think Pioneers will take a series, but I don't think they'll make it out of groups. There we go. I kind of played in Bubble Tourney and popped off as my first time. Glad to hear it, bro. Well, hopefully, if you stick around for this stream, it should definitely be a fun stream for you can learn and see how Team Liquid perform and play. But here we go. Complexity versus Falcons. I think Complexity will edge this one out. Brew versus Liquid. Now, I think we do gotta give this one to... Liquid. Crew, it's their first time on land. FaZe Secret. Oh, shoot. Now that is an interesting one. Well, we can mark down Oxygen beating Dignitas here. But, here we go. FaZe versus Secret. Secret play very defensively, but so do FaZe. I just think FaZe have the better offense. So I'm actually going to go 3-0 FaZe here. I was one game off playing against Cuxer. Aw, man, bro. Cuxer, one of my favorite all-time players. But here we go. We get the Gen G Liquid rematch, but honestly, if they rematch again, I think Gen G should mop the floor with them. And then Complexity versus G2. Now that is an interesting... That's an interesting quarterfinal there. We'll come back to it. Oxygen versus Ground Zero. You don't know anything about RLCS? Well, watching RLCS is really good for your own gameplay. Yeah, so stick around for the stream. We're going to be watching Team Liquid. We can analyze and maybe you can learn something about high-level gameplay. But here we go. Carmine Core versus FaZe. Ooh. Well, I'll go to Ground Zero versus Oxygen here first. Does Jorius finally make a top 4 to land? I mean, that's the big question. He has Rise. You know what? Since he has Rise on the team now, I'm actually going to give it to him. He's going to make top 4, but it'll be in a Game 7 fashion. And then with that, I think FaZe will narrowly edge out Carmine Core. Carmine Core going out in quarters again. And then Complexity versus G2. I thought the last time Complexity made the major, they should have made top 4. And I'm going to go here again. I think actually, G2 got the home crowd advantage. You know what? Complexity, well, you know what? I think G2 with the land, they'll make it through. And then Gen G. I think we got to see it. I think we got to go Game 7 here. I think FaZe should beat Oxygen relatively easy. And then FaZe versus Gen G. I think FaZe will come out with a win on this one. There we go. Of course, I don't like it's a North American LAN. It's just the way the bracket laid out. For example, it was Carmine Core versus anyone except FaZe. I could see them winning. Except maybe Gen G. But that's how the way the bracket worked out. But without further ado, let's get into the analysis for today. What's your ranks nowadays? I've been SSL every season, and I've been continuing that streak forward. Actually, I didn't get SSL one season, but I wasn't playing ranked. So, there we go. But last season I was SSL, got 1940 and 2s. Here we go. Let's get started here. So 1900, yeah, my peak MMR last season was 1940. Here we go. Let's change the settings here real quickly. All right, let's get into Team Liquid. So we'll go to, I believe most people requested watching Regional 3. So that's what we'll go over. We'll go over Regional 3, Team Liquid. Here we go. Should be fun though. Let's see how overall how this ends up going. Here we go. Beer back, need something to drink? Sounds good. I think the best thing to look, well, first look at, like, we have to look at a, let's look at this regional. What? We have to look at a good game from Liquid where they were confident and they got a good win. You know what? Let's look at Liquid versus Vitality first. So we'll actually look at a group stage matchup first. Groups, what group are they? C? Okay. Look at Group C, round 3. Let's look at Liquid versus Vitality. I think that'll be a good first match to look at. And I always like looking at the stats. So let's see overall how these stats are looking for Liquid. So Liquid actually reverse swept this series. So we probably should look at a game 4, a more confident win with from them. A 3-1. Let's look at that. So overall, Liquid seemed to put up normally expect we definitely see Vitality putting up a lot of shots. I mean, actually both these teams are putting up a good amount of shots. What team we looking at? We're looking at Team Liquid today. That's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at Liquid, Acronic, Atao, and Oski. So Abdiel, I think you should enjoy watching Liquid. They play super fast. Here we go. I don't like the we do see a little bit of demos from Oski, but normally that off-ball pressure is what we're gonna be looking at. Maybe he got some bumps. Looking at the boost, looking at their average boost. Chronic tends to be on lower average boost, but I think his small pad counts. Actually, no. Oski and Atao got all the small pads, whereas a Chronic just doesn't have boost by what it looks like. I mean, it's an interesting thing to look at the stats, and you see the average boost amount. I mean, a Chronic in this series actually has a very low boost amount. Look at positioning, though. He tends to be the furthest one back. That makes sense. Atao and Oski upfield. Yeah, that all makes sense. And then movement-wise, oh yeah, Atao and Oski, they're speedy. But without further ado, let's get into the games. Let's look at a win here from Liquid. We got a big problem though. I go for our back boost too much and leave way too much space. Yep, pads are a very important part of Rocket League. So let's look at game 4. Let's see how this goes. How Liquid play. Just to give y'all what we're gonna be looking at, we're gonna be looking for a couple of things. We're gonna be looking for possession being one big thing. We're going to be making sure that the 3 areas of the field are covered, right? We want to make sure there's someone on the ball, someone supporting the person on the ball, and make sure there's someone applying off-ball pressure, or at least trying to find some way to be useful off the ball. Because some teams, they find different ways to be useful. Some teams are really good at demos, some are really good at boost steals, some are really good at cutting in awkward situations. So we'll see overall what kind of team Liquid is when they're off the ball. And then, yeah, I think that's good. So Atao is apparently really fast here in this. Sup, Matthias Maximus? How you doing, homie? We're going to be looking at Team Liquid here today in our deep dive analysis and how good Liquid are. And right off the bat, here we go. So let's see what Atao does. He does go for a bump. He's missing a lot of pads here at the beginning, but he does get the big boost. Let's see what happens here. He's going to fill in second behind his teammate here. Could be possession for Atao. There we go. Love it. Taking his time. Tried to get the 50. Oski fills in second here really quickly as well. I do like that. I want to see it from his POV. He's going to fill in second behind Atao. Then, great challenge. It could have been maybe a little bit better, but as we see, the Chronic ends up just being sit back far in net. But overall, Liquid, they're looking all right. The main thing I noticed about Liquid is there's a reason why they're, like, of course, mechanically and speed-wise, they are better than most teams in the world. But there's something that's messing up their consistency, and we'll see if we can find an answer to that real quick by the end of this replay, or sets of replays for today. Here we go. So here we go. He fills in behind his teammate. So one thing I'm noticing right off the bat is Liquid isn't really, well, at least in this game, we're not really seeing them support each other really well. Like, we see somebody on the ball, but then their next teammate is a mile away. So maybe Liquid are thinking a little bit more defensively minded right now, which is in turn giving Vitality a lot of space, at least at the beginning of this game. But whenever Liquid do have the ball, they are taking possession. So at least they got that part of their game down. But I think the one part of their gameplay right now that's really lacking is their support. As we see, Chronix, he's been this support player multiple times now. But every single time he goes to support, he's so far away that he's not really able to do anything. Whereas if we look at Oski here, in both times where he's been supporting, he's been relatively close to the play. He's filling in behind a Chronic here. He's supporting. Now he's going to try and pass the ball up to Atao. That's solid stuff there. See, look at this small difference here. When Oski's supporting, he's close behind the play. And at the end of the day, when you're thinking Rocket League, what are you thinking? You're thinking, how can we support our teammates the best way possible? The mindset you want to have when you're supporting is you want to be close behind your teammate facing the play, right? And one thing that we're not seeing from a Chronic compared to Oski is Oski, he's supporting close to the play. Now imagine I throw a ball at you, a basketball, baseball, anything like that. You're not going to hold your arms completely straight out in front of you just to catch it with your hands, right? You're going to try to bring it close into your body, right? That's how you support the ball. That's how it makes it easier to catch. It's more efficient. It's quicker, right? And same thing as if, say, you were holding a baby. You're not going to hold your arms completely straight out with your baby. You're going to bring it close to you, right? Support is the exact same way. Can you support from far away? You can, but it's very inconsistent. It's inefficient. And overall, it's harder to do as well. As you see, again, Oski supporting his teammates close to the play. Whereas Chronic, he's had some issues, at least at the beginning of this game. Look, he's 0 boost all the way back on defense. So it could be a thing where Chronic may not trust his teammates as much, or maybe he's trying to let them have more space to cut. But either way, it does show some of Liquid's inconsistencies, because whenever a Chronic is supposed to be on offense, he's not really supporting. Look, he's again jumping from the ball from really far away. So, at least in this game right here, Chronic's not looking the best. And now he's pushing up the field, and then we see this, where he pushes all the way up the pitch, and then doesn't really do anything. So, like, we've seen him now too far up the pitch and too far back. Let's see how this goes, though. Okay, so that's a good touch. Let's see what he does with the ball here. Now he's gonna look for a pass mid shot from a Tau. Oh, it's off the backboard. So that was a good attempt. That was a really good play there from a Chronic. It's the first time he's looked confident in this game, at least. And then, I don't know why Oski's fine for that ball. I mean, it makes no sense to me. You can clearly see he's touching the ball there. Ooh, a Tau with the mistouch. But he does get the save. Here we go. So we can see a Tau. Like, a Tau recognizes where he is. He recognizes a Chronic supporting Oski, so he supports a little bit further back. But once the ball gets sent across, now he's going to play support for Oski. And then once he sees he's getting beat, he rotates back. So a lot of people probably see a Chronic as the one with the most experience. They probably see him as the one with the best rotations. But even just in the few seconds here from a Tau, not only is he looking confident in his rotations, but he's also doing the right thing. He's supporting close, and whenever he's the last man back, he recognizes that his teammates need space. And there we go. So here we go. We see Oski again with some great support, supporting behind his teammates. So Chronic, of course, when he's on the ball, he gets a really good touch, but since Oski's supporting close behind facing forward, he's able to get a really good shot off as well. And don't get me wrong, I have been berating a Chronic a little bit, but at least when he has the ball, he's taking possession. So he's in front, they pass it up to a Chronic. Really great first touch, and he honestly could have scored it, but works out as a pass. Good stuff there from a Chronic. So yeah, maybe that goal will give a Chronic some confidence. So we're going to watch a Chronic here for probably a majority of the rest of this game. Let's see. So right here, he's going to watch mid, maybe be an option for a pass. He sees he's getting beat. Let's see if he fills in second behind a Tau. He does. So here we go. This is probably the first instance where we really saw him support really well. Now, he does end up getting a really bad first touch, but he was at least in position for the first time. So looks like there's just some small inconsistency. So hopefully their coach is able to build up some idea of how to help a Chronic with his nervousness as the second man. Or I don't know if it's nervousness. Maybe it's just he doesn't understand how the second man's supposed to play. Either way, I know Expire is Expert is a good coach, so he'll be able to get fixed. But either way, this is a really good shot from a Chronic. He turns I don't like that he's going all the way back for a big boost. I mean, a lot of North American players do that as well. But then he's flying super early, and he's just able to get a good shot on target. But this is all set up by a Tau here, I believe. Yeah, Tau. He forces it out, and then really good shot from a Chronic, so overall, I like what I'm seeing from Liquid. They're definitely looking a lot more consistent than the last time I've watched one of their replays. And now it's just about seeing if they can keep up improving this consistency, because they've improved a lot over just the last few months. They've made all the majors that they've been they were even eligible to participate in. So it's great to see. Now, what happened in this goal back here? So we can see a Chronic's last man back. And then, ooh, this is something you'll notice from a lot of EU players that don't have a lot of experience, is they kind of just go for things, right? So one thing that I do like about this challenge is a Chronic is trying to force the ball high, which is good. But one thing that I don't like here is he's last man back, and him going for a ball, that's not an issue for me. But he's going for it when it's not threatening. Like Alpha 54, he's air dribbling from his own side of the pitch. This is not threatening. Where is Alpha air dribbling this? Right now, he's air dribbling essentially to the Team Liquid corner, right? So if we look at it from this POV right here, we can get out our pen. Alpha, he might be trying to go towards the net eventually, but at least for this moment in time when he's in the air, he's not really doing anything. This is not threatening. The only time a shot ever becomes threatening is when it's actually like in the goal box or approaching the goal box and able to get a good shot on target. So like if Alpha 54 started an aerial here, I want to see a Chronic forcing high here, right? But if we're looking at a Chronic here, what's going to end up happening is he forces Alpha 54 high, and look, the force didn't do anything. Alpha, if he had more boost, could have kept following it himself, or of course Sizen could have gone for this ball, right? So that's why when this is something that even we're seeing here, that even pros have some inconsistencies with their challenges. Like, why is he jumping here? That challenge is doing nothing, but I mean, he is forcing it high, but since he's doing it so far away from his own net, since he's doing it when he's threatening, all this is just a waste of boost and throwing himself out of the play. As you look, that force didn't do anything. It just allowed Alpha 54 to get a free ball past him, and then Sizen was able to get the shot in an awkward spot, and a follow-up from Radosin will put the ball in the back of the net. So it really goes to show, at least in terms of the individual skill side of things, Liquid still has some issues with forcing the ball. Or at least it was a chronic. We're gonna see maybe there's a defensive opportunity where the other players on his team mess up a challenge. But here we go. Look at this. Look at the patience from Oski. Look at that. He waits until it becomes threatening, and then he jumps. It's small things like this. Right here, now Alpha 54 has the reset, but even then, it's still not that threatening. What is threatening is the pass. So right here, he jumps here because he knows that it's only threatening if it's a pass, and he jumps up to cover the 50. Now, that is solid individual smarts. That's solid gameplay overall. But, so, this replay definitely turned into me berating a Chronic just a little bit. Oh, great challenge there from Atao. So we'll just watch the rest of this game. Just to think about what happened this game. So at least from Liquid's POV, Oski and Atao were looking really good this game, and I think they're definitely one of the main. They're both the main reasons why Liquid were able to reverse sweep this series. But in regards to what the issues were, so Chronic, in terms of what he was doing good, he was taking possession. He had some good shots. A Chronic is good, but he's also been the main source of issues for Liquid in this game. But at least what he was doing good. Oh, he's good looking. Okay. I guess most people will agree with you there, Abdiel. I love me some Atao and Oski. I as well, bro. Atao and Oski, because so many people think of just Atao and Oski as the young mechanical players, right? But by what's shown in this game, they're also super smart. They were forcing high when they should. They were being patient, and it was actually a Chronic, the veteran on this team, that was having issues with some of his rotation, where he wasn't supporting close behind his teammate facing forward. He forced too early on a challenge. And I will say, though, forcing too early on challenges isn't just an Chronic thing. There's a lot of pros that have that issue. I mean, like think about the way they think about it is like, oh, Daniel's in the air, or Zen's in the air, or Alpha 54's in the air, and they're like, they think they have to challenge as early as possible. But when they do that, once they actually do force, they're just able to get it over them since they challenged so early, and now they're able to keep going and try to get a threatening shot on target. That's why when you're forcing high, you want to make sure you wait for it to become threatening. So Force, I know I coached your team last night, but the situation on this first goal here with the Chronic, this perfectly shows why forcing high too early is a bad thing. Because right here, it's not threatening. I'm not scared of Alpha 54 in this situation, but a Chronic apparently was. He goes up for the ball, and then it's a free shot for Sizen, which makes it awkward for Liquid, and it's an empty net. So, honestly, I want to see if a Chronic can fix his issues. So, Game 5, they're able to win. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Oski and Atao showing up again. But let's go into a playoff match between these two teams. Here we go. Let's go into playoffs. Anybody in chat have know what match they would want to watch the most in the playoffs here? So they played Quadrant in 7. They played G1 in 7, and they played Carmine Core in 7. So what do we want to watch first? So no matter what, I'm going to go over Carmine Core. But what game would we want to watch from Quadrant or G1? I guess is my question. Anyone have any recommendations on what they would rather see? I think this Quadrant match would be very interesting. Maybe looking at this 4-3 game might be very interesting. In terms of G1, maybe looking at a 3-2 loss might be good. But yeah, so Forrest, I know you were one of the people who requested us analyzing Team Liquid. Is there a specific game that you would prefer us to look at? 3-2 G1 game? Alright, so hold on. Here we go. So the 3-2 G1 game. So that was game 1, 2, 3, 4, game 5 of the semifinals. All right. So look at that. Let's see if a Chronic's boost and everything was fixed by today. So let's look at. So we talked about okay. So he has a way higher average boost. That's good. He's getting a lot more big pads as well. And Oski, of course, a lot of big pads. Okay, so Chronic is at least fixed his boost situation from the series we just watched. In terms of movement, he's also way faster, so he's looking a lot more confident. And normally, normally the percentage on the ground is normally a good indicator of how confident a pro player is. Because if you're jumping for everything, it shows you're not really reading the play. It shows you're hesitate, or it could show you're hesitating. But with 59% here, it shows you're actually reading the play, in position, and going for it. So I think this will definitely be a good game to see if Chronic has fixed his gameplay. Let's look at game 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here we go. And Chronic ended up being MVP of this match for his team. Not for the whole match, of course. They did end up losing. But let's see how Chronic does in this one. Let's see how Liquid does overall. Here we go. Oh, okay. They end up losing this game, but all right off the bat. I mean, this is what we talked about was already good from Chronic. Of course, he is mechanical, but look at this right here from Chronic. Oh my. Brilliant shot from Chronic. And looking at the smarts from this as well, because of course mechanics are mechanics, but we can expect pros to have mechanics. Right here, he puts the ball in a spot where he knows he can follow it. And this was completely intentional the entire time. He knew he could get a good, powerful shot. And even if he messed up the shot, Oski is still following up the shot in a very fast manner. So, brilliant play. Doesn't even move after the shot. He knows that's a good goal. Okay. So, we're still seeing some of the same issues from Chronic, where as second man, he is really far away from the play. He's supposed to be supporting his teammate here. And look, Atao is essentially 1v3 right now on the offensive end. We don't see Oski or Chronic going. And Oski, he's going back for boost. So, again, this is an issue that we're constantly seeing from Chronic where he's not supporting his teammates. Now, of course, he does want to let his teammates play. He wants his teammates to have a lot more freedom on the ball. But since he's so far away from the play, I mean, even like right here, if he was closer to the play, Oski could have probably gotten him a way better shot. But since he's so far away, he ends up getting dusted. So, support, definitely not the best part of Chronic's gameplay. And this is now being shown in multiple games. Maybe against Carmine Core it'll change, but at least right now, Chronic is playing very passively, which is not something you're used to seeing in EU gameplay. Normally, when you're thinking EU, you're thinking very fast. You're supporting each other very quickly. A lot more passes, right? But at least so far, we haven't really seen that. At least from Chronic. So here we go. So Oski. So I think Atao could have gotten a save here. Of course, he was trying to read the play, and he thought that maybe Dorito would shoot it here. Which of course he does, but he slows it down. So overall, it's a good play. Atao can't really do anything. The real question is, how does Oski handle it? Yeah, I do think Oski is backwards to the play here, which automatically makes it a lot more difficult. Let's see if it starts earlier in the play. Oh! Well, let's look at this here from Chronic. He's supposed to be supporting his teammate again, right? So Oski loses the 50 to Atao, but look how far away from the play Chronic is. And all that means is that if Chronic goes for this ball, he's getting dusted. So right now, Chronic support, and this type of support here, just little stuff like this, where the second man isn't supporting close, this could spell detriment in a LAN environment. Because if you're not supporting your teammates, especially on LAN, where everyone else in the game is probably really jumpy and nervous, the teams that support each other better are normally the teams that will end up winning. But right here, we're noticing from Chronic, like we saw in the Vitality series, he forced too high, miss, it's a free goal. And right now, he forces again, puts Oski in a really awkward situation, and it's a goal again. So you're probably wondering, like, how would I rotate here? What should I do? What do I think a Chronic should do? Well, first of all, he should be closer to the play. He's supporting. If that ball bounces off the corner here, he could, if he knows 100% he can get this, which I think he could. I think a Chronic could have gotten up to that ball, even gone for a double tap. Or even if he thinks he's getting beat, he wouldn't jump, he would turn, and now as Oski's rotating back, a Chronic could fill in first, or Oski could just go, and a Chronic could support from here, and that's a free possession for a Chronic. So, I was hoping I could go into this gameplay and see a Chronic fixing his mistakes in the last series, but so far, not seeing the support structure. Not seeing the support. And I believe I have a notepad here. Here we go. We got a notepad here. So we got a bunch of teams that we'll eventually go over, but I guess we can start with Team Liquid. This is from the last time we did more of a test stream analyzing a bunch of different teams. Right now, so for a Chronic, how do I spell it, Chronic? There we go. For a Chronic anyway, as second man, needs to find a way to be more confident when supporting his teammates. Being too far away from the play allows him to get beat, and he is technically not supporting even as the second man. So here we go. That's from a Chronic's POV. I think we've illustrated that as a really big issue. So I think we're going to switch over to his teammates now. Because, of course, a Chronic, it's not like he is the only one with mistakes. I mean, even right here, I could tell Oski's clearly getting beat here by his opponent. But even then, he still jumps up for the ball. Now, he does get a boost steal. So that's something that we really want to look at from Oski. Is he is really good at stealing boosts without completely throwing himself out of the play. And part of the reason why he's able to do it is he's always keeping his momentum up. And honestly, this could have been maybe even a goal. He gets a solid first touch. And then he kind of rushes his flip reset, but that could have maybe even been a scoring opportunity. Ooh, poor 50-50 from them there. Ball goes mid, and how is this in? So, like, of course, Oski, we saw just a couple more minor mistakes. 450 there, but you could say led to a good spot for G1. But what happened with his teammates? So, right here, it looks like Atao he's either avoiding the demo or he just misread the play here. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's definitely avoiding the demo, which puts him in a spot where now he has to try and make the save. All right, so I think this was just overall outside the poor 50 from Oski. I think it was just a good play from G1, because we see a mark by 8. There we go, some good support here. Mark by 8 gets a really good 50. And then Dorito puts the ball at the backboard, but since they have a close support player in Atomic, he gets up to the ball. Yeah, I think that was just a really good play from G1. So overall, even though I think the only thing we could really say there is Oski could have gotten a better 50, but and then maybe Atao could have read the corner and tried to get to the ball first, but it did at the end of the day start from Oski's bad 50. So we'll just leave it up to that. Great dunk from Atao. Let's see this possession. Oh my, there we go. Great possession, great speed. He isn't able to get the dunk, but still, I like what I'm seeing from Oski. All right, Dorito through the air. Here we go. So again, we're seeing. So I think Atao challenged a little early here. As you see, Dorito is still able to follow it if he had a little bit more boost. So I do think Atao jumped a little early on his challenge, but it still was just enough for Oski to support his teammate and get forward and go for the ball here. And then here we go. He's getting the boost steal, and then he passes over mid. Here we go. So this is how I think we finally found out how Team Liquid use their off-ball pressure guy, or their be useful guy. And at least whenever Oski's in front of the ball, he goes immediately for a mid boost steal or a big boost steal on the other end of the pitch. And then he kind of just lingers mid. And if the ball bounces out, he'll go for a pass to a teammate, just trying to set up a teammate. And then he kind of lingers for a little bit longer. And here he's actually filling in support for his teammate. That's how he is able to get a really good 50-50. So Oski, he goes from this off-ball pressure guy, be useful guy, into just immediately filling in support. But this tendency of Oski to kind of cut into the play whenever he's near could also explain maybe why a Chronic might feel a little bit more nervous to support closer to his teammate. Because as we can tell, Chronic supporting has been an issue for Team Liquid. So, I mean, we don't have to put it all on a Chronic just to support closer to a team. If he's worried about his teammate cutting the ball and everything like that, I mean, that could show some issues. But at the end of the day, the Chronic still has his mechanics. He still has possessions. And look at this here. Boom. Pop it up. Demo. So at least when a Chronic's, like, you can definitely see a Chronic puts in his worth when he has the ball, right? It's just we're seeing a lot of more of his issues come from actually supporting his teammates when his teammates are on the ball. So hopefully we can see a Chronic maybe get some help from his coach, set them up. So yeah, so Abdiel, I'm going over one team from the major each day. So tomorrow I'm going to be going over G2. But for example, what's it called? What team do you want to really see? So I could try to move that in to be one of the closer, one of the next couple teams going over the next few days. So what are you two requests? Falcons or Rule 1? Well, Rule 1's not a major team, but we will eventually be going over Falcons. So I think what we can do, I mean, you guys can request teams. So I think the schedule that we're going to be going over for the next couple of days. So we're going Team Liquid, and then we're going G2 Esports from NA. So we're going to go EU, NA. And then we have to pick, and then we're going to do, then we have to pick between Mina, Sam, or OCE for the next one. And then let's say we do Falcons in 2 days. We'll do Mina, and then let's say we'll do Sam the day after that. And say we'll do OCE after that, and then we'll go to, go to NA after that, and then EU, and then we'll maybe do OCE, Sam, and then Mina, for example. Actually, there is no more Mina, so there we go. So we might honestly spread this out a little bit more, but we want to alternate which region every day. So honestly, we can do for day 3, we can do Falcons, and maybe we can illustrate this out. So for Mina, so we're doing G2 tomorrow, and then Mina in 2 days, and then we can do Secret, or we should probably save Secret for more towards the end, right? So you know what? Let's do Crew Esports, and then we'll do KCP. KCP. So yeah, we can do Falcons, and of course, when we watch Falcons, we'll be looking at Rule 1, right? So my next question, so Matthias, if you have an NA or an EU team that you really want to see, so we just go day by day. So this would be day 1, right? Day 1. Team Liquid, day 2, day 3, day 2, etc. So V1 aren't a major team, but maybe we can look at them. So we can definitely look at V1 tomorrow when we play against G2, or when they play against G2, right? So remember, this series is going over major RLCS teams, but we can go over V1 versus G2 tomorrow and see how V1 are playing. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's most likely a mindset thing. You have to remember that Calm was essentially kicked and then brought back on the team, so you can imagine mentality-wise, they're probably not in the best of places. Here we go. Oski, he's honestly looking solid. Yeah, so I think we're starting to see a little bit of Oski's issues. Whenever he's the first man, yeah, didn't have the ice mentality, yep. Really good attempt at a shot. I honestly think a double tap would have probably been better here, because we have to analyze where's the space here in the air. Right here, there's space right below him, and there's space in the air all the way to the backboard, right? So if you're the person on the ball, you want to utilize wherever the other team's giving you space. And right here, the net is covered by 2 players here. So what I would love to see is him put it as far away from his opponents as he can, put it off the backboard, and go for a double tap in. Or there's actually space for a pass here, right? So he can also choose to go for a pass to a Tau and then go for a quick shot like that, right? But instead, Oski kind of just shoots at top left corner, and at the highest level, you'll notice that sometimes shooting is just to give away a possession if it's not a perfect shot. And that's what this seems to end up be. He shoots, and it's a giveaway possession. Luckily, G1 mess up on the defensive end of things and give away the ball right back. But as you see, it was still they were still able to do just enough to clear it back to the Liquids end of the field. Hit it off the ceiling, catch it the reset, and flick it backboard, then pancake it in. I mean, it's possible. He actually did have a lot of space for it. Ooh, he fakes it for a chronic. Great shot attempt. Ooh, Atao messed up with that flip. Now they're rushing back. Ooh, Atao's in the way. So we can so I think we finally found maybe a weakness about the Team Liquid rotation. We're noticing that whenever something bad happens with Liquid, there's not really they don't really have an understanding of how to adapt the rotation to whatever's happening. If someone messes up the rotation, then they're completely out. So say a Chronic, he's not supporting close to the play. Or we see Oski, he gets a bad 50. Or we see a Tao backflip, we instantly see them get in each other's way, right? And that's what ends up leading to just this giveaway possession here for a little bit. Oski's tries to go, his teammate gets demoed. But after his teammate gets demoed, and a Chronic gets demoed, now we're seeing them try to keep the offensive pressure, but ends up just being one big clear and a solid goal. So I think we finally found a weakness of the Team Liquid gameplay. And the weakness I would probably put for Team Liquid right now is adapting to the abnormal part of the games, abnormal parts. And so as an example, if a teammate gets demoed, loses a 50, is not supporting perfectly, we can still see some big issues in the weaknesses of Team Liquid's game. But overall, they're still a very solid team. And for example, let's put their strengths. Well, you can put their strengths. Strengths all come from offensive first man, insane mechanics. Then as third man, great at stealing boost. That's what Team Liquid are really good at. And one thing I would like to see maybe a little bit more, so adding a little bit more onto the weaknesses, for example. Do not have the best off-ball pressure with demos. And everybody, what I'll end up doing here, by the end of all this, I'll put all these notes for all these different teams in a document for everybody to access as well. So I won't do it for right now, but at the end of all these different streams that we do, I'll definitely put all the notes in a document for all of us to look at and for all of you to be able to look at. And when you guys watch the major, hopefully you'll be able to see if some of these teams have fixed these issues. So a Chronic ends up spawning, but then he rushes upfield as it's getting banged. So we see, again, so actually I think I'm going to put that in their notes as well. So when in important situations, players react to the play rather than reading it, putting them in awkward situations that they have to recover quickly. But I will say, great at recoveries. So honestly, Liquid are reminding me a lot of FaZe early on last season. And even going into the World Championship, FaZe still had some issues, but with this. But I think Liquid are reminding me a lot of FaZe, where if they're peaking, they can beat any team. But we're still seeing a lot of inconsistency issues, even though they're able to win regionals in EU. Are you going to the major, Luke? Probably not. I would love to, but I'd have to find some way to get there, which is more important. Like I think I'd be able to go on my own, like pay for the ticket, stuff like that. But for example, the airport in my city doesn't go to San Diego, and then I don't think I know anybody I don't think I'd be able to drive all the way down there. One, because I'm currently getting my license, but two, I don't know if anyone else would drive there. Here we go. And that's going to be the end of this game for Liquid. So just to recap, in terms of individual stuff, a Chronic as second man needs to make sure he's a little bit more confident when supporting his teammates. I think that's one bigger part of his game that he needs to work on. He needs to be a lot more confident when supporting his teammates. Can I make this big enough? Yeah, there we go. Keep it big. So here we go. So Chronic is second man. He's finding a way more to be confident when supporting his teammates. He's too far over in the play. Allows him to get beat. He's not really supporting his second man. But outside of that, weaknesses of the team. As a team, they tend to have... it seems to be difficult for them to adapt to if it doesn't go the way they expect it to. So if a teammate gets demoed, loses the 50, or is not supporting properly. And then they also don't seem to have the best ball pressure with demos, off-ball pressure with demos. We see some boost steals, but they're not really looking for demos, right? And then when important situations, the players react to the play rather than reading it, putting them in awkward situations that they have to recover quickly from. So I will say, in terms of their strengths, having a really good first man with mechanics, and then having a third man that's great at stealing boosts and having great recoveries, this does make up a good recipe for a LAN environment. But at the same time, their weaknesses of adapting to the play, not having a lot of demos, and then a Chronic support man also is a reason why Liquid may not, at the moment, be able to win a major. So I think right now, so we do have our initial predictions that I made before. So here's what my initial predictions are for the major, and then when we're done analyzing all these different teams, I'm going to remake my predictions with all these notes that we have, right? So for me, I have Liquid. They are a very good team, but their inconsistencies so far are supporting my ideas here that Liquid, I think in round one of a LAN, I think they could end up losing this. And then they'll come back and then win their next two series. I think that's something that Liquid can do. Because they do got some good strengths, but they also got some weaknesses. You say that's crazy, but I'm gonna tell you, when we get to ground zero, you'll see how good they are. But here we go. But for those of you guys who weren't here at the beginning, if you noticed, ground zero only. So I have a three-way tie in Group C. So I have ground zero beating Liquid, losing to Secret, then of course beating Gaming Gladiators. And then I have Secret beating Gaming Gladiators, beating ground zero, but then losing to Liquid. But then I have Liquid losing to ground zero, but then beating Gladiators and beating Secret. So that's the only reason why. They're all tied 2-1, but ground zero narrowly get the head-to-head. But so far, with the notes that we have for Team Liquid, I think we're in a pretty good. We have a pretty good understanding of them. But let's get into watching the grand finals here. So we're gonna pick 2 or 3 games that we want to see from the grand finals. So if there's any specific games you guys would want to watch from this grand finals, shout it out now. I think we definitely want to see. Well, welcome back. Oh, now we're gonna be looking at Team Liquid versus Carmine Corps, grand finals of the regional 3. So I think maybe looking at game 1 and game 2 will be important. So we'll look at game 1, game 2, and then maybe 6 or 7 afterwards. We'll see. And let's see if the same issues end up being prevalent. What's your goal this season? Of course, continue to get SSL, push towards top 100. I don't know if I'll get it this season, but I do want to push towards it. At least get 2K this season. That's what I want to make sure I'm able to do. At least get 2K. We haven't really watched a Tau yet. He already has, I think. It's all good, bro. But here we go. Let's see how Liquid end up doing here. So right off the bat, a Tau. So we already recognize we've only watched a Tau a little bit, but we've seen a lot of good smarts from a Tau. Honestly, by what it looks like, he definitely seems to be the smartest person on the team. But this is, of course, a grand final. So let's see it. So right off the bat, we see him being a little panicky here. Oski, so this was actually a really good force from Oski. Because I know it's Vatira on the ball, but you have to remember, it doesn't matter if you're playing against a bronze or if you're playing against a pro. Vatira is not threatening. He only becomes threatening right here. This is when it becomes threatening, so that's when Oski goes to force high. And then all Atao had to do was just stay grounded, read where that ball's going, and it's a free ball for Atao. Now Atao panics a little bit, but overall that was still a really good team play from Oski and Atao. But of course, they were the players that we didn't say had any issues with forcing. It's only been a Chronic so far that's had issues forcing. But here we go. Look at this from Atao. He's supporting Oski close from behind. Now his reads on where the ball's going on a 50 seem to be a slight issue. He's not exactly reading the play perfectly, but he's at least in position, and that's really good. Alright, so let's see how Atao handles this. So that is technically a giveaway possession. He could have touched that ball off the curve there, kept it closer, but it's just one mistake, so it's not the biggest issue. Ball pinches down the field. Let's see what Atao does. He doesn't overcommit on that play, so this is really good. I know it seems very subtle, but he single jumps here, just in case Itachi misses, for the most part. But as you see, he's able to land quickly and go for and he's able to rotate back very, very quickly. And looks like a Chronic was really far back again, but but since right there, actually, excuse me, Chronic got, so that's what happened. So a Chronic gets demoed. That's why Atao rotates out. So I will say this is a very bad miss from Oski. I don't think it's bad that he went for this ball. I think he read this play really well. It's just he missed the ball. That's the only issue here. So Chronic had to spawn and go for it. So luckily for him, he was able to get back to this. But I want you to really pay attention here to Atao's rotation back. When we think high-level threes, there's 3 areas of the field that need to be covered. We need someone on the ball, we need someone supporting the person on the ball, and we need someone applying off-ball pressure. But even though we need all these 3 things are necessary parts of the game, there's still a priority to them. And I'm sure you guys can guess the priority. Ball guy's the most important, support guy's the next most important, and off-ball pressure's the 3rd most important. All 3 of them are still necessary parts of the game, but at the same time, you want to make sure they're filled in early enough. So someone on the ball is, of course, way more important than these other 2 things. So right here, Oski goes to fill in ball guy, right? And Atao, since a Chronic gets demoed, goes to fill in support. But if we notice here, since Oski does end up missing a ball here, that does mean that Karmakor should have honestly gotten a goal out of it since someone has demoed out the play. So there we go. But that's what I do like from Atao. He does recognize he has to fill in support. It's just Oski misses, which requires some insane reaction time from a Chronic to get back to that play. Great pinch there from Itachi, but no support from Karmakor is actually going to allow Liquid to get off scot-free on that. Possession here from Atao, trying to get it around the opponents. Now he goes for the boost steal. Boost doesn't end up spawning. But here we go. Now he's going to fill in support behind his teammate. So here we go. I do love Atao's rotations. They're very, very confident. How long is the coaching session? Coaching sessions are as long as they need to be. So $10 for as long as it takes. The first coaching session normally takes the longest, but afterwards it normally takes 45 minutes to an hour. And if you end up being very, very good at listening and improving, then it could even be less time than that. We can go over more replays. So it all depends on how fast you are at learning. But here we go. See, this is what I like. So this is what we're not seeing from a Chronic. So we see Atao, whenever he's supporting, he's close behind the ball facing forward, right? And that's what allows him to always be in the play. Now we're going to go back to a Chronic because we've noticed in both series we've seen him in. He's had issues. Yes, look, he's going all the way back. And look, he's supposed to fill in second for Atao here because Oski's rotating out. Oski's going to be, like right here, if we go back to this field of view, what'd we just say? We always want someone on the ball, we want someone supporting, and we want someone applying off-ball pressure. Off-ball pressure can be demos, it can be a blindside pass, it can be boost steals, it can be all that. And on defense, watching the midfield, right? So that's what Oski is doing. He's going for off-ball pressure, he's taking boost steals. But right here, Atao's on the ball, and the Chronic, he's the closest one to support, but instead of supporting, he goes all the way back. Team Liquid kind of looking like NRG right now. They're out of boost, so they rush all the way back. So we need a Chronic to turn on this play and support his teammates. And then Oski, of course, would fill in behind him. And then a Tau will eventually lose the 50. A Chronic would fill in. Oski would support him while a Tau goes for that off-ball pressure, right? So, but right here, instead, we see a Chronic and Oski both rotating back. Now, Oski rotating back's fine because he just came back from applying off-ball pressure. But a Chronic, he's right here. He needs to give a Tau some support. So again, second man from a Chronic. I don't like looking at just one player, but we can definitely see it's a very big issue on Team Liquid when it comes to a Chronic in terms of support. Now, luckily, a Tau's able to get possession and flick it back. And look at this. Whenever he's supporting, he's close. But if we go back to a Chronic, he's just rushing. He had just gone all the way back for boost a second ago, and now he's doing it again. Luckily, he times the boost spawn, but it doesn't matter. It's still a goal. And it's all caused by rushing out of the play. Now, but Oski does seem to be awkward here. Let's see if he messed up here. So I think Oski's pushed up a little bit too far at first. Wait, what? So this play is literally all a Chronic. So a Chronic, he rushes back for a big boost. He just leaves the play. Doesn't go for demos or boost steals or anything like that. And then he calls Oski off just to get beat to the ball. So, yeah, pretty big issue there from a Chronic. But we'll go back to a Tau, see if there's anything we can see from him. If you don't mind explaining how the coaching session works, you watch replays and say what he's doing wrong and what he needs to improve on, but do you also give him, like, training packs? So, I give whatever you do. So, I'm a coach. My job as a coach is to give you the straightest path to the professional scene. And the way I do that is I tell you what's the best, what you need to work on. So, for example, if I see your mechanics are what's really holding you back, I will tell you how to work on your mechanics. Whether it be training packs, workshop maps, or just playing solo Q2s, I'll tell you what you need to work on. But I'll also teach you how high level 3s works as well, which is why we'll go over replays and really be able to tell what are your biggest issues. Now you understand? Alright. As you can see, what are we doing here for Team Liquid? Like, of course, I'm not Liquid's coach. I'm not coaching them right now, but what we are seeing are their weaknesses. Right here, we're supporting team. Right now, he's trying to support his teammate. Now he's going to fill in second. So this is actually a really good rotation here from a Tau. Because, look, all three areas are being covered. So a Chronic, he's rotating out from applying off-ball pressure. Oski's being ball guy, and a Tau's being support, right? And if we let this play continue to run, Oski gets beat, and a Tau knows this ball's going over him, right? So, instead of going for this ball, he lets Oski continue to apply off-ball pressure, and he will fill in support behind a Chronic who's about to go for this ball, right? So you see we always have a ball guy, a support guy, and an off-ball pressure guy. Now, it does look like Oski is rushing out a little too early here. Yeah, it does look like he rushed out a little bit too early, but now, since he at least stayed in the midfield, he could be a good counterattack pass opportunity. Now he's still on offense, right? And look, we have all three areas being covered right now. We have off-ball pressure from a Chronic, we have Oski on the ball, and we have support from Team Liquid, from a Tau. Do you only do 3s or 2s as well? So, for example, if you're on a team, scrimmages and tournaments would be the best, right? But I also do, for example, if you don't have a team, or you don't do scrims, 6-mans or anything, I do high-level 2s as well, because high-level 2s, best practice for high-level 3s. Here we go. He's gonna fill in first. Get a bump. Here we go. So I'm gonna make an early prediction for Team Liquid. I think a Tau will continue to be Team Liquid's best player going into the major. I honestly believe that. But I think it's the duo of Oski and a Tau that really make Liquid scary. And if a Chronic can fix his little issues, I think Team Liquid could honestly be a really good player. Honestly, Liquid remind me a lot of early FaZe. I said that earlier, but they remind me a lot earlier of FaZe a few months ago, or even before the last two regionals, where FaZe had these issues where they have some issues when it comes to supporting each other, like first killer cuts in bad situations, stuff like that. And then you got some players that kind of hold down the fort. Miss is kind of that player rotationally that holds down the fort for FaZe. And we can see a Tau is definitely one of those players. And then Sipical is also really smart as well, which is kind of the Oski-like player. And you got a Chronic and First Killer. I think First Killer is just better overall than a Chronic, but at the same time, you still see the same issues of not really trusting his teammates or knowing what his teammates are doing, right? Now, how does a Skull end up getting scored on? A Chronic, he tries to pass it to a Tau, ends up being a poor pass, a pass to the other team, and ends up being a goal. Oh, well. But yeah, I think, again, every single time Liquid has been scored on, it's either been a Chronic challenges too early, or he's all the way back. There's no in-between. He's not supporting properly, seemingly 100% of the time. There we go. That's it for game number 1. Let's go on to game 2, a game where Liquid won. Let's see. I think we'll watch Oski in this replay. Let's see how Liquid do in game number 2. You need a what on something? You need to munch on something? I don't really have a team. I just get 2 people to scrim with / play tournaments with. Yeah, but for example, watching but here we go. But yeah, for example, for you, Spod, watching high-level gameplay, especially from a coach or a player's point of view, I mean, it can definitely help you out a lot with your own gameplay. For example, when I'm talking about stuff like, for example, with Chronic, he doesn't support his teammate close behind facing forward. Are you doing that in your own game? Or when we talk about something good, we talk about, say, Liquid. They're taking possession every moment they get. They try to keep the ball on their car and not give away the ball for free. Like, are you doing that, right? That's what you want to, when you look at pro gameplay, you want to see, like, what are pros doing that I'm not? Or what are they doing more consistently that I'm not? Because pro teams are still not perfect, don't get me wrong. I mean, I can't wait till I eventually get to look at Carmine Core later in the week. Honestly, I think I'm going to say Carmine Core more towards the major. Same with FaZe, same with FaZe, same with Gen.G. Oh my, look at this play here from a Chronic. So here we go. So, of course, we've been talking to Chronic's issues off the ball, and supporting have been really bad, but whenever he has the ball, he definitely seems like the best player on the pitch. So, I think Liquid, they really need to say, a Chronic, you're great on the ball, but you gotta improve your support. You gotta support your teammate close, or ask him why. Like, I could definitely see him thinking that since Oski and a Tau are so mechanical and young, maybe he feels like he has to stay further back. I mean, maybe that could be it could be a mentality issue for a Chronic, and that's why he's not supporting properly. Who knows? Or maybe their coach has some... Maybe the coach has some weirder sense that... Maybe he thinks that as a playstyle, a Chronic should try to stay further back, but... Either way, no matter why it's happening, it is a big issue for Liquid. And for example, me, I don't know why the team's acting like this. It could be mentality, it could be their coach, it could be just a Chronic in general. But if Liquid do want to continue to improve, they gotta fix a Chronic support. And then individually, a Chronic has pretty much everything on lock. He reads the play better than most players and everything like that. The only issue individually we've seen from him is whenever he's forcing, he sometimes forces before it's threatening. And what that ends up happening is it just makes his force a useless force, because they're able to get it over him and then continue to maintain possession. But here we go, Liquid. Honestly, I really enjoy Liquid. I don't know if Forza's still here, but Liquid are definitely a really solid team. Yeah. I'm going to be looking at one more game of Team Liquid versus Carmine Core after this. This is, of course, the 2 best teams in Europe right now. And it should be fun. But yeah, we can definitely see why Liquid ended up getting beat by Gen.G. We can definitely see why they lose to some teams that you might think they wouldn't lose to. I mean, that's why personally, at least at the moment, I have them losing to Ground Zero round 1, but then coming back to win the 2nd and 3rd rounds. What happens here? So that's just a little bit of a misread, but how does this play start? It starts something. Oh, it looks like just a poor touch from Oski. Oski's trying to go up the pitch. He's trying to support. Ball gets hit. Oh yeah, very poor touch. But even though I mean, that's just one poor touch, but it shouldn't necessarily mean a goal. But we can definitely see one of weaknesses to Team Liquid adapting to abnormal parts of the game. So if a teammate misses, if a teammate gets demoed, loses a 50, or someone's not supporting properly in terms of in terms of a chronic, they tend to end up having issues with following up after that, right? But still, I still like Liquid. It's like still like all their 3 players. It's just right now, Liquid definitely don't look like a major winning team. Now, if they pop off and they're able to fix all their issues by the major, then of course they can win. But I think if you're to predict how much Liquid improve, you'd have to compare them over the last 3 regionals, which, as a team, they've improved a lot. They're a lot more consistent. And I think Chronic talked about it as well. They actually have a semblance of a structure that they're working on. So I think they're definitely on the right track to improvement. But the issues that we are seeing, they're not really stuff that's going to be fixed over the course of just a month and a half. They can be. But of course, I don't know the mentalities of the players. So my opinion, I think where I have Team Liquid right now, in terms of where they'll be at the major, is actually in a pretty good spot. I only have them losing to Ground Zero in round 1, which is anything can happen in round 1. And then I have them losing to Gen G again in the quarterfinals. I mean, I think that's pretty solid teams to lose to. And but we do have to remember, Liquid have only lost the major winners. But at the end of the day, if you want to win a major, you got to beat everybody. So, Liquid are going to have to prove a little bit to make sure that doesn't happen. Or I believe they've only lost to the major winners in the playoffs. So once they get to the playoffs of the major, they only lose to the major winners. But here we go. Pretty decent shot. Great demo. Pass out. Brilliant stuff. So this is a completely team game right here. Oh man, I hate that tree. Okay. Because what we'll notice here is we'll notice a demo on the goalie. We'll notice a guy coming in for possession, and we'll notice someone trying to fill in support. Right? It doesn't necessarily look like a perfect circular rotation, but sometimes you don't need that. You just need to make sure that all 3 areas are covered, right? Ball, off-ball pressure, and support, right? Want to make sure the support, ball, and off-ball pressure are always covered. And it seems like Liquid have a pretty good understanding that all 3 areas of those need to be covered. It's just how they support, right? So a Chronic, he knows there needs to be a support player, but he's out of position when supporting. I'll have the coaching thingy in my mind. Sounds good, bro. But let's move on to our final game of today. Let's look at Game 7 and see how Liquid are able to win the Winter Invitational. But as you guys see, for the most part, most of the notes that I wrote down from the Vitality series is still prevalent going into the next day. The only thing that Liquid look compared to the Vitality series is they look far more confident in these playoff matches. And confidence means a lot for individual skill. Here we go. Oski's gonna fill in first. Now I'm expecting a little bit of nerves. Both these teams definitely want to win this regional. Chromacore want the Grand Slam. Liquid just wanting the regional win. Here we go. Liquid, even compared to the last time they won the regional, last split, they are honestly looking far more confident individually. Look at that. They're still focusing on possession for the most part. Atal was out of boost, so we could have maybe gotten a better touch to a teammate. But still, overall, solid stuff. Looks like the music ended up pausing. Roll up. There we go. There we go. Decent 50. How does he rotate out? He's going to go for the big boost. Gets it on timing. Supports his teammates. Now, Tao ends up misreading that, so maybe a little nerves individually, which, of course, is expected. I mean, both teams are going to be seeing some nerves. But Oski in this Game 7 is honestly looking very confident. I know he was getting some praises from people on the desk talent. But, of course, this is just Game 7. All the other games so far we've looked, and it's been a Tao holding down the fort. So, Oski looking confident in this game. There we go. Solid first touch. And honestly, he's had some bad misses, some bad touches in other games. So, looks like Game 7, Oski finally shows up, showing us how good he really is. And right now, he's showing up. Here we go. He loses the 50 back there. He doesn't have any support. So, actually, I do want to look at that. I thought someone should be behind him. Let's look for Metallic POV since he's further away. So, we have noticed this a little bit, so I think we found one individual thing from a Tao. He tends to react to the play rather than reading it. So I think that's one weakness we can actually put. So we finally have something to put for a Tao individually. Tends to react to the play rather than reading it, allowing other players who are reading the play to get to the ball first. Now, like we said, all three of them are really good at recoveries, so even though a Tao does have this issue, it normally doesn't mean they're going to get scored on, but it still makes it so Liquid aren't perfect, all three of them. Now, that's the only issue I've really seen from a Tao. He tends to react to where the ball's going rather than actively reading where that ball's going. I guess you see, look how much he's turning. He doesn't really know where that ball's going to go. Whereas if we look at a play like a Chronic, where a Chronic, he's not in position a lot of the time, but he knows where this ball's going. He knows that ball is pinching out mid. He's facing where the ball's going to go, and look, he has a free ball. So finally, we're able to say something about a Chronic that's good, that's something that a Tao is bad at. Finally, I'm not just berating a Chronic the entire time. But here we go. That's going to be a goal on the board for Liquid. And let's see what causes this. So Chronic goes for a shot. Double commit from Karmine, and ooh. So good on a Tao being able to get to this ball. But what happened with Karmine? Exotic double commits with Vatira. Itachi just fakes it. And then a Tao goes. And then I'm sure some of y'all have been in the situation of Itachi where like, oh, I'm just going to fake it. They're not going to go. Nope. I mean, it's in front of your own net, bro. You got to stay behind it. Especially in a grand final. Like, the first man's just going to go. And of course, in Europe of all regions, the first man is going to go in a situation like that. So honestly, I don't know why Itachi did what he did. Maybe he thought maybe his teammates told him he had time or something, but it definitely should not have been a goal there for Team Liquid. Here we go. Oski up for that one. Ooh, a Tao. Misreads a little bit what's happening. And everybody who's in chat, I want to know your opinion. I do want to post our analysis of these teams on YouTube. Should I post them pretty much uncut? Or should I try to cut down a little bit of what we're going through here? I just want to know y'all's opinion. Because if we think we can put it uncut, I mean, I can get it on YouTube, like, today. But so far, I do like what I'm seeing from Team Liquid. I think we've illustrated the issues. I think we understand now the issues that Team Liquid have. We know their strengths. We know their weaknesses. And I think the best team to compare Team Liquid to is FaZe before the last two splits. You think uncut's fine? Awesome, awesome. Okay. But yeah, I think we've illustrated, because right now their strengths is, honestly, their strengths are entirely mechanical. Like, they are really fast. They take possession really well. Whenever they have the ball, they know what to do with it. Oh my, a Tao, he messes up Infinidash, and he ends up overcommitting on this play. And then Oski's also not supporting his teammate here. So initially, a Tao supporting a Chronic, but what's happening? Ooh, Oski ends up not going up the field with his team. Of course, he ended up getting demoed, but then instead of grabbing pads and staying with his team, like he probably should have, grab pads, stay with the team, go up the field like this, supporting his teammates. Now, right here, he wouldn't have been able to get that ball, but what he would be able to do is at least bait his opponents in better and have a way better angle of approach on defense to make the save. Instead, we notice Oski goes to the back corner boost. Now he's completely out of the play. And look, Vatira has no worries. No, he knows Oski's not challenging that ball. And that's how Vatira is able to get the goal there. And of course, the Tao messed up his Infinidash, which is not the best thing in the world. He definitely didn't look the happiest of campers after a goal like that. Alright, let's see. Great. Okay, so there we go. Finally, a Chronic has a really good force, and he does so in Game 7. So that's good. Oh, that's the only real time we've seen a Chronic have a super fantastic force where he forces at the right time and he actually makes contact with the ball. Great touch there from Matau. He loses it down. A Chronic with a great read. So there we go. We're noticing the mechanics of a Chronic when he has the ball is definitely probably the best in this lobby. When a Chronic has the ball, he's probably the best player in the lobby. But right now, when it comes to his, but in terms of his weaknesses, in terms of his support, has some issues supporting his teammates well. But oh my, look at this here from Team Liquid. A Tao with possession. He knows he has a lot of time. Oski calls for a pass mid, pass, shot, score. And this is something that EU teams are really, really good at. So normally, when players at the highest level support, they normally have someone on the ball, someone supports from behind, and the third man's either looking for off-ball pressure or has already rotated out behind his teammates, kind of starting up a line going down the field. But and the reason why this is done is because when you're behind, you can see the entire pitch, right? You can see if the midfield is open or not, right? If the midfield's open, then you could go there and ask for a pass. But also since you're here, but if there is someone watching the midfield, then of course they wouldn't go. EU teams are so good that even if someone's watching the pass, they're normally able to get a good shot, a good pass, and a good shot off, even if someone's looking like they're covering mid. Whereas, for example, a North American team, maybe they see that someone's maybe covering mid, and they wouldn't even go for the passing play. But that's something that you can tell EU is clearly better at than most regions in the world, because even with someone watching mid, they're able to still get a really good pass and a really good shot. Now, I will see this from Exotic's POV. So right here, he rushes back, and then he goes for goes here. Yeah, so I think Exotic does what he can there. I would have loved to see him turn upfield a little bit sooner. Let's see if Vatira here. Vatira, he's rotating back. I mean, I could also see Vatira cutting across to fill in first here, but I think the biggest part is they're allowing the other team have so much free space. And then Vatira, he doesn't read the pass. He instead tries to play the shot. And Vatira, he's a really good goaltender, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, if you can read the pass, intercept it at its source, that will always be better than trying to read the shot afterwards. And then it was still possible for Vatira to save that. I mean, even looking at it like this, we can see a Tau. I think at this moment in time, Vatira should easily be able to tell that he's passing. And right here, we can also tell just from here, like right here, we can tell where Oski's shooting that. He is going for the shot top right. And as you look, Vatira actually almost got the read, but since he didn't have any momentum, he wasn't actually able to make the save. There we go. Matau, he's through the air. He's looking a lot more confident than he did a couple seconds ago. And setting up his teammate. And that's the end of this Liquid deep dive and analysis. So here we go. Here's what we have for Team Liquid. We have Chronic as second man, needs to work on being more confident when supporting his teammates. He's being too far away from the play, which allows him to get beat, and he's technically not supporting. For Atao, the only individual issue I really saw from him is he tends to react to the play rather than reading it, allowing other players who are reading the play to get the ball first. And then for Oski, the only thing I noticed is sometimes goes for balls he is completely getting beat to, throwing himself out of the play. But everybody, I will be putting these notes in a document at the end of all these streams. So tomorrow, we are going to be going over G2 Esports. The day after, we'll go over Falcons, and then Crew Esports, and then KCP right after that, and then we'll pick what NA team we want to go over next after that. So we're doing one team a day. So tomorrow G2, the day after Falcons, the day after that Crew, and the day after that KCP. But there we go. That's going to be the weaknesses for Liquid, strengths for Liquid, and I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much, everybody. Showed up the stream. A good hour-and-a-half stream. Thank you so much for showing up. If you guys do want, I'm going to be commentating Havoc Esports later tonight. Our Academy League playoffs will be tonight. So if you guys want, hope to see you guys at the stream there. But thank you so much, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your night. Peace.